Hello everyone, myself Professor Amol Mishra, Assistant Professor of Department of Electrical Engineering, SND College of Engineering and Research Center, Yola. Today we are discussing on the topic the arc. So first we are seeing the what is arc. The electric arc constitutes a basic, indispensable and active element in the process of current interruption. The basic theory of electric discharge. The conduction of electricity is through the gases or vapors which contain positive and negative charge carriers, and all types of discharge involve very fundamental process of production, movement, and absorption of these carriers, which is the mode of carrying the current between the electrodes. The gas discharge phenomena can broadly classified as the non-self-sustained discharge and the self-sustaining discharge. The initiation of an arc by high voltage gradient at the cathode resulting into field emission by increasing of temperature resulting into thermoionic emission. The maintenance of arc. High temperature of the medium around the contacts caused by high current densities. With high temperature, the kinetic energy gained by moving electrons increase. The field strength or hold gradient, which increases the kinetic energy of the moving electron and increases the chances of detaching electrons from neutral molecules, and increase in mean free path, the distance through which the electrons moves freely. Then we are seeing the arc voltage. The voltage that appears across the contacts of circuit breaker during the arcing period is known as arc voltage. It tends to maintain the current flow in the form of arc. Then we are seeing the restriking voltage. What is the restriking voltage? It is a transient voltage that appears across the contact at or near current zero during arcing period. Then we are seeing recovery voltage. Or what is recovery voltage? It is a normal frequency voltage in RMS or root mean square value that appear across the contacts of circuit breaker after final arc extinction. It is approximately equal to the system voltage. When contacts are opened, current drops to zero at every half cycle. At current zero, dielectric strength of the medium can be increased and thus prevent the breakdown by restriking voltage. Consequently, the final arc extinction takes place and circuit current is interrupted. After this current interruption, the voltage appearing across the contacts is known as recovery voltage. Current chopping. What is current chopping? It is a phenomenon of circuit interruption before the natural current zero is reached. It mainly occurs in air blast circuit breakers because they retain the same extinguishing power irrespective of the magnitude of current to be interrupted. The powerful deionizing effect of air blast causes the current to fall abruptly to zero well before the natural current zero is reached. This phenomenon is known as current chopping and results in high voltage transient across the contacts of circuit breaker. The arc current I is chopped down to zero value as shown by point in the image. Then resistance switching. What is the resistance switching? The post-zero resistance of contact space is high in air blast circuit breaker. This is because the contact clearance space is filled with high pressure air after final current zero, and high pressure air has high dielectric strength. The high striking voltage appear across the contacts does not damp out through the gap because of the high post-zero resistance. In the figure, we are seeing the configuration of switching resistors, in which the auxiliary contacts, resistor unit, spring, piston, fixed contact, moving contact, compressed terminal, and compressed air from air receiver are shown in the image. Then, what are the methods of arc extinction? There are two methods of arc extinction. First one is the high resistance method, in which there are four types, that is cooling of arc, second is the increasing the arc length, third one is the reducing the cross section of arc, fourth one is the splitting of the arc. Then another method is the low resistance or current zero interruption method, in which there are four types. The lengthening of the gap, increasing the pressure in the vicinity of the arc, then cooling and blast effects. The phenomenon of arc extinction, the energy balance or Cass's theory. This theory states that if the rate of heat dissipation between the contacts is greater than the rate at which heat is generated, the arc will be extinguished, otherwise it will restate. recovery rate or Slepin's theory. In this theory, it states that if the rate at which the ions and electrons combine to form or replaced by neutral molecules, then we are seeing the restriking voltage and recovery voltage. The transient voltage which appear across the breaker contact at the instant of arc being extinguished is known as restriking voltage. The power frequency RMS voltage which appears across the breaker contacts after the arc is finally extinguished and transient oscillation diode is called as recovery voltage. In this image, we are seeing the circuit voltage, active recovery voltage, restriking voltage, transient recovery voltage, and arc voltage, current zero instant, and short circuit current in the waveform. Then arc extinction, in which we are seeing the arc voltage. The voltage drop across the arc is called as arc voltage. The waveform shows the arc voltage short circuit current in waveform. Then arc quenching of in circuit breaker. The arc produced not only delays the current interruption process, but it also generates enormous heat which may cause damage to the system or the circuit breaker itself. Therefore, main problem in a circuit breaker is to extinguish the arc within the shortest possible time. So the heat generated by it may not reach to dangerous value. Arc phenomenon. During arcing period, the current flowing between the contacts depends upon the resistance. The greater resistance, smaller the current that flows between the contacts. The arc resistance depends upon first one is the degree of ionization, in which arc resistance increases with the decrease in number of ionized particles between the contacts. Then second one is the length of the arc. The arc resistance increases with the length of the arc. And third one is the cross section area of arc. The arc in which the arc resistance increases with the decreases in X section of the arc. The factors that are responsible for maintenance of arc between the contacts are potential difference between the contact, or that is voltage between the contacts. And second one is the ionized particles between the contacts. Then methods of arc interruption. There are two methods of arc interruption or extinction are high resistance interruption, and second one is the current zero interruption. The high resistance interruption. We are seeing the high resistance interruption in which the arc resistance can be increased by cooling, lengthening, reducing X section, and splitting the arc. And it is employed for low power AC and DC circuit breakers. Then current zero interruption. There are two theories to explain the zero current interruption of the arc. First one is the recovery rate theory, that is called as Slepin's theory also, and second one is the energy balance theory, that is called Cass's theory. These are the waveforms of recovery rate theory, in which dielectrics and recycling voltage waveforms are shown. The energy balance. Arc extinction in oil circuit breaker. In case of oil circuit breaker, the opening of contact which hits the oil surrounds the contact due to arc, which causes hydrogen gas bubble to evolve, and it removes the heat from the surface. If the rate of heat removal is faster than its generation, then the arc is extinguished. Then arc interruption or extinction method: high resistance, low resistance, and zero interruption, and artificial current zero interruption.